Next, I'd like to welcome Vanessa Fluker. She's an attorney who practices in Detroit, which some consider to be one of the nation's home foreclosure epicenters. Nearly every day she is in court helping those at risk losing their homes to foreclosure. And she is a leader of the Moratorium Now coalition to stop foreclosures, evictions, and utility shutoffs. Thank you for being here, ma'am. Over the years, Ms. Fluker and Chairman Conyers have worked very hard to have the state of Michigan institute a statewide foreclosure moratorium, and we'll want to hear her explain to us why such a moratorium is needed. Ms. Fluker received her joint MA-JD degree in 2002 from the WSU Law School and the Department of Political Science. Ms. Fluker, is it Fluker?
Yes, it is. First of all, I'd like to thank the committee for having this opportunity to come here today to present testimony regarding this very important issue. I, too, like Ms. Hines, is from the city of Detroit, Michigan, who is ranked at the top of the list, well, almost at the very top, in foreclosures leading to evictions because we are a non-judicial state. First, I'd like to address the perspective of the media perception has been that for some reason we have all these massive foreclosures because you have this multitude of people who bit off more than they could chew, who went into homes that just were exorbitant and beyond their reach. This is not true. The majority of people in subprime mortgages are the working poor, minorities, and senior citizens, and that's what constitutes and makes up the majority of my practice. Unfortunately, the scenario is such that these subprime mortgages were marketed and pushed disparately on the working poor, minorities, and senior citizens. For instance, to give a real-life first-hand perspective, my client, Ms. Hart, works every day as a legal assistant. Mother dying of cancer. Has been fighting for 2 years to get a modification with Bank of America, who, by the way, just got $7 billion additionally in January of this year to do that. No go. They're proceeding to eviction on that matter right now. The only reason the eviction hasn't occurred is because there may be some impropriety with the affidavits and documentation. My client, a senior citizen, who was diagnosed with dementia in 2000, who was put in a pay option arm mortgage in 2007, who we're still fighting. Of course, it's his family now, seeing as we've been fighting so long. He died a week and a half ago. My client who has a farm in Michigan, who was put in a subprime residential mortgage, interest only, that not only covers his house, but his whole farm. And they're foreclosing and trying to take the whole farm. Or even more egregious, my client who was in active duty in Iraq, serving his country, comes back, he's in foreclosure. They're like, oh, well, too bad, we can't work with you, we can't modify your loan. This is just a sampling of what I deal with every day, and it is voluminous. And what makes this situation just, in my opinion, outrageous is because after, as we all know, there's the $700 billion bailout, approximately 75% of these subprime mortgages now are insured or underwritten by the government. Why does that become so significant? Because if, in fact, a mortgage is underwritten or guaranteed by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, when the banks and lenders throw these people out in the street, they get paid the full mortgage value. That's why it's a bonanza in Michigan. Michigan property values have dropped in some areas up to 70%. So, for instance, I have a client whose fair market value is going between $12,500 and $15,000. Well, the mortgage balance on the home, being the adjustable rate predatory mortgage, is close to $200,000. Guess what? if they're successful in throwing that individual out their home, they don't get the full market value, they get that full mortgage balance. Therefore, why is there any incentive for any lender to work with anybody when they're being paid the full mortgage value? Now, this was really brought to light in a New York Times article on October 18th of this year. The article is about Bank of America, who is a perfect example because it's the same across the board. And it talked about them resuming their foreclosures after the robo-signing issue. And what's significant about that article is because on page 2, it talks about of the 14 million mortgages that Bank of America holds, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac underwrite 1/2 of them to the tune of $2.1 trillion. Layman's terms, if Bank of America forecloses on all those underwritten loans by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, they would make $2.1 trillion. Again, that is why my clients who send paperwork in for modifications 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, I turn around as an attorney, send it in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, certified mail, green card receipt. We haven't received a document and moving their house to foreclosure. That is why that occurs. That is why people who go into trial modifications, who have paid 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, take their money, all of a sudden say, oh, by the way, after paying this trial modification for 9 months, you don't modify. Next thing they know, because we're non-judicial, they have a sheriff's cell tacked to their door, and their whole house is sold at the sheriff's cell. This is just getting outrageous. And I challenge this committee and Congress to do this. I believe this would be a very telling statistical aspect, and I know my time is running out. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac always talks about how many houses they've sold, which is true, because in Detroit you can go buy a beautiful house for $10,000, $15,000. Someone needs to compare the numbers, how much money was paid to the banks for those mortgages versus how much money was made from the sale of those homes. And I can assure you, for Michigan, it will be an outrage, because basically we're bailing out the banks in a silent bailout with these guaranteed mortgages, and there is no incentive to work with the borrowers. Thank you.
Thank you.